to go, Miss Fleming. Here we go. Ready? One. There.
So remind me, who's bringing out the guys?
Mike's going to run point also during the diploma.
Welcome, gentlemen. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to be seated. Before I do, it's a hot day. Please feel welcome to take your blazer off, set it on the back of your chair. You look great, gentlemen. Please be seated. Good morning, parents, families, friends, and honored guests of Chicago Jesuit Academy. Welcome to our 13th annual commencement ceremony in celebration of our graduates, the gentlemen of the class of 2021. My name is Matthew Lynch. I serve as the president of our school community. For the past 4 or 5 years, the young men seated here have gathered every Friday for our weekly chapel service. This morning, our commencement ceremony serves as your final chapel as students of Chicago Jesuit Academy. We begin today, as we begin each week's chapel, with a reading of the praise list in recognition of the great things each of you young men have recently done, whether seen or unseen. Gentlemen, your final praise list as students of Chicago Jesuit Academy. Mr. Ricardo Alvarado Morales. Ricardo takes on academic challenges and opportunities to grow. He's thankful for those opportunities and shows it by engaging in hard work. There simply isn't a day where Ricardo will not give you his best self. He's kind, patient, and willing to help others. Mr. Chris Burton. Chris sets an excellent example for our younger students. He's confident and proud of who he is, and it reflects in his conversations with the younger students. Chris makes our younger students want to be their best selves. Chris also never gives up on himself. When faced with a challenge, he does everything in his power to overcome it and to grow stronger. He's an inspiration to others. Mr. Kamari Cross. Mr. Cross has a deep sense of love for his family. There's nothing he wouldn't do for them. He also has a deep sense of justice and knows right from wrong. His peers look to him as an example for doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Mr. Shamar Durden. Shamar is full of fun and light. You can count on Shamar to provide humor to those around him. You can count on him as a good friend. You can count on Shamar to consistently lend a helping hand. You can count on Shamar to lend a listening ear. At the end of the day, you can simply count on Shamar. Mr. Ryan Dunn. Ryan is kindness personified. He is a serious young man, but enjoys moments of levity and fun. He's independent and self-motivated. Most of all, he cares deeply for those around him and shows his love in deeds and in words. Mr. Cameron Edwards. Cameron is filled to the brim with positive things to say. If somebody nearby does something well, Cameron is consistently the first to point it out. His affirmations are an exemplar of love. He also is very observant of the world around him and willing to take joy in life's small, beautiful details. Mr. Fred Fairfax. Fred is a talented young man. He shared his humor, his acrobatic abilities, and his problem-solving skills with his school inside and outside the classroom over the years. He's grown into a young man ready to engage with the positive opportunities he'll create for himself by combining his talents and his positive outlook on life. Mr. Dion Glenn. Dion's ability to dig deeper to fully understand a topic or investigate a question or issue is indicative of the depth of his intellectual curiosity as well as the depth of his caring. Dion's curiosity has led to him shaping his own worldview, where he questions why things are the way they are and how he might use his skills and talents to help change the world for the better. Mr. Aaron Green. Aaron's sense of justice and the way he advocates for himself and others inspires others to take action. He asks important questions that ignite change. He has a deep love and appreciation for his family, his friends, and those whom he looks up to. Little does he know he has so many that look up to him as well. Mr. Torrance Green. I like the whistles. TJ's love and affection for his family runs deep. He is compassionate, he's loyal, and a great friend. TJ, you are capable of great things. Mr. Thomas Gutierrez. Thomas is a strong and steady communicator. When he was in 5th grade, Thomas didn't talk very much. As an 8th grader, Thomas is confident, communicates concerns, comments, and questions, and shows generous care for his family. When asked about his hope for the future, he stated he just hoped to make good decisions so he could keep being a good role model to his younger sisters. Mr. Matthew Harlan. Matthew is eager to learn and grow. He can take feedback, internalize it, process it, and implement it into his life. He's become a confident young man, a kind friend, and an eager learner because of his growth. Mr. Shaquan Harris. Mr. Harris is so kind and loving. He's someone who brings people together, which is a much-needed talent in our world today. He is steady in his work and consistently lets people know how grateful he is for them. Thank you for being you, Mr. Harris. Mr. Gerardo Hernandez. Mr. Hernandez is consistently listening. He can provide a compliment to someone that is so specific, you know he internalized whatever you might have shared with him a week ago. He's also reflective and willing to hear perspectives that are different from his own. Mr. Derek Jones. Mr. Jones has consistently shown great courage. He unifies his peers with his wonderful sense of humor, but's also admired for his strong work ethic. At the end of the day, Derek is unafraid to be Derek. Mr. Darion Lipsey. Mr. Lipsey learns with a grace and a resilience that is remarkable. The way he carries himself in a role of leadership for his siblings and his classmates is incredible. He's consistently ready for a challenge and will never give up on himself or those whom he loves. Mr. Ja'Kai Nance. Mr. Nance has been an example of a guy who is not afraid to put himself out there. He'll be the first to participate in a breakout room if it's quiet. He's willing to ask a question or offer his opinion or share a piece of joy with the class, the group, or just the individual he's talking to. In doing so, he lets others know that it's okay to be their authentic selves. It is a quiet yet powerful form of love. Mr. Miko Naeho. During the past several years, Miko has shown that he can receive feedback with maturity and make changes that help him grow. That takes so much courage. He's also shown a willingness to take on responsibilities and own his impact in the world. Mr. Octavius O'Quinn. Octavius thinks deeply about his impact in his community and takes action where he sees an injustice. Thank you for listening to your heart and being brave enough to carry out your vision for justice. He's a kind friend, a loving son, and brother. He truly knows what it means to put others first. Mr. Daniel Orta. Daniel is someone who is consistently thinking about others. He's kind, thoughtful, appreciative, and hardworking. He's consistently himself, and his confidence is inspiring. Mr. Davion Pete. The way Mr. Pete has approached e-learning is remarkable. At a time when it's hard to be at our best, he has turned in some of the best work we've ever seen from him. This response to challenging times will serve him well in the future. Mr. Miguel Puntos. Mr. Puntos loves his classmates, his teachers, his family, his community. He's not afraid to say thank you, to tell someone they did a great job, or to offer encouragement. These acts of love, given over and over, are transformative, and Mr. Puntos is an excellent example of what a happy heart can do. Mr. Tyron Rollins. Mr. Rollins brings so much joy to those around him. He's funny, kind, thoughtful, and a lot of fun. Tyron has a heart of gold and is willing to share it with anyone he encounters. It's been so wonderful to see you grow and mature at CJA. Mr. Jonathan Scott. Mr. Scott has grown into a stronger and stronger student this year, despite the challenges of e-learning. He took some constructive criticism and used it to improve. He's been an example of someone that puts in the work consistently and then starts to see a deepening understanding of the concepts taught in class. Mr. Tristan Sturdivant. Tristan is resilient, caring, and creative. He's able to make connections between what he's learning in the classroom and connections with society, often showing his care and understanding of what social justice is. Mr. Christian Taylor. Christian is unafraid to be his unique and wonderful self. He has spread his passions to others and built a community of acceptance and kindness at CJA. You can also count on Christian to give you his very best. He's meticulous in his work and never willing to submit anything that doesn't accurately show the thought, and the care that he put into the task. Mr. Elijah Thomas. Elijah has an incredible spirit. He's kind, thoughtful, and considerate. He lifts up everyone around him, and any school with him in it is a lucky place. His positive energy is infectious and is an act of love for his friends and his family. Mr. David Tiburcio. Mr. Tiburcio has approached e-learning with a desire to master his work and to bring his classmates along with him. Whether when asking clarifying questions that benefit the entire class, taking on a leadership role in his breakout room group, or doing the Magis, Mr. Tiburcio is a rising tide who lifts all boats. Mr. Ernest Tucker. When Mr. Tucker was in 6th grade, he pushed through a particularly difficult and long biking excursion during bike club. It is that perseverance and that strength that will carry him through future challenges. Congratulations, Mr. Tucker. Mr. Jaden Villalobos. The joy, energy, and pure excitement that Jaden brings to his learning and brings to his classmates is a real tone setter. He sees the good in people, even when it's hard, which is something our world needs more of. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Adrian Woods. Adrian shares kindness and perspective in a way that challenges others to be the best version of themselves. His creativity is an amazing part of who he is, and the way he invites others to share in it with him is a gift. Gentlemen, you've heard one of your teachers or a member of our staff say this to you almost every Friday for the past 4 years. For all these great things, and most importantly for the great things you do every single day that none of us will ever get to see, a round of applause.
Water break. Water, water. Water, 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 water. Everyone, everyone. Even if you don't think you need it, take some water. All right, good job. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Ready? This is the day the Lord has made, and let us give thanks and rejoice. He could have made it a little cooler. The words of that psalm have special significance this year, in light of the challenges, the sacrifices, all the things that our school, our communities, our city, our nation's gone through. Through your hard work, through the sacrifices and love of families, the diligence and mission-centered work of our faculty and staff, God has wrought this beautiful and blessed day. He has made this day. What you've accomplished, often in pajamas with your cameras focused at the ceiling, if we were lucky. Is this song on? Every time you showed up, you re-engaged, you lay your mind and soul open to growth. That was God slowly making this day for you, guiding you along a path of growth, a path of work, a path of love. Gentlemen, our chapel readings are ordinarily taken from the day's scripture readings. Today, our 3 readings instead have been authored by you, our graduates. Gratitude for our teachers, staff, our benefactor community, our parents, and families who have all made this day possible. Before we hear those readings, Mr. Elijah Thomas will lead us and our opening prayer. Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas.
O God, come to our assistance.
O Lord, make haste to help us.
Glory be to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
As it was in the beginning, is now, and never shall be, world without end. Amen.
I'm starting off this prayer by reading a Bible verse that shows how we could be a gentleman for others and how we're moving on into our next step of life. Timothy chapter 4, verse 12. Don't let anyone think less of you because you are young. Be an example to all believers in what you say, in the way you live, in your love, and in your faith. God asks us to be an example for others in what we say. Lord, sometimes we have a hard time speaking up. It could be the fear of getting the wrong answer that can hold us back. I remember struggling with an assignment once, as many of us have. God, thank you for the blessing of my teacher, Miss Odom, who saw a light in me that I didn't see in myself. Thank you for teaching me that with a little encouragement, I can push myself to be a better version of me, and that when I am down, to speak up and try again. God asks us to be an example for others in the way we live. The class of 2021 has many dreams. Lord, help us come together to reach them. My dream is to run for office, help the hungry, and make a change in the community. God, help us have the courage to do the things we dream of. Lord, you asked us to be an example for others in our faith and in the way we love. We know there will always be a CJA community. Help us to love and support this community by returning in faith to help anyone and everyone who needs it. God, we know from Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11, that you have a great plan for us. As we grow in class of 2021, ask for your guidance and protection. Lord, give us strength to walk off this field and lead a better future. Send the nations. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen.
Our first reading is in gratitude for our teachers and staff. Teachers, today I have come forth to show you how much you mean to us 8th graders and all CJA students. You've helped create some wonderful young men, and today I want to thank you for a few of the things you have done. You always taught us to do the work that's in front of us now and not to procrastinate. The little things you do, like helping us with homework and helping us with missing assignments, makes it so that we can spend our time out of school doing normal kid stuff without getting into trouble for not finishing our work. You always help us when we're in need, whether it's with homework, school, or personal home things. Just like how you help us with schoolwork, you also help us think about a career we would like to do or something that makes us happy and we are passionate about. This is important because a lot of people don't really think about what they want to be when they grow up. Our teachers help us to learn what we like to do, which makes it easier for us to plan for life after CJA. You've been able to push us to find things we really love in life, no matter if it's popular or underrated, whether it's sports, wanting to be a teacher, or being an artist. You have helped us learn what it means to be professional, whether that path includes a college degree with an office or owning your own business. You all have been set on one goal, preparing us for the future. You all prepare us for the real world. You teach us to be respectful in life. You tell us how to work things out with people and to come together. You show us how at the end of the day, we all still need to work hard. You have helped us to get excited for high school by pointing out the positive things, like not going to an all-boys school anymore or going to prom, and also having more opportunities to play sports in a bigger school. And another positive thing is, just like Mr. Mason said, we won't have to wake up early in the morning to come to CJA and see his face. With all this being said, teachers and staff, we all appreciate you for doing the best you can to teach and develop young, respectable men. For our teachers and staff, we say, thanks be to God.
Our second reading is in gratitude for our benefactors. Hello, my name is David Tiburcio. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the benefactors for their contributions to not just my education, but others as well. I am thankful for how the benefactors have continued to support CJA students during the pandemic. This previous and current school year has presented many challenges. It has, at times, been difficult to adjust to the changes from in-learning environments, going from in-school to online learning, and ending with the mixture of both. If it weren't for the benefactor support, we may not have been able to access the necessary resources needed for our education this school year. This past and current year, the benefactors provide supplies and aid that assisted students and families. This includes Wi-Fi hotspots, Drew Osco gift cards, delivered lunches, and much more. It's the little things that are provided to us that make the biggest difference. This care caused a more smooth and amazing school year. I am so grateful for what all of the benefactors have done. I may not have the words to describe how happy I am, but I can try to express it. All of the benefactors have made a difference in a lot of our families' lives and will continue to impact students and families to come. A lot of opportunities have been given to not only me, but many students throughout CJA's history. So I say to all of the benefactors who have not just helped CJA, but made CJA, thank you. For the benefactors of Chicago Jesuit Academy, we say, thanks be to God.
Our third and final reading is in gratitude for our parents and families. Thank you, families of CJA, for coming here today for this graduation and to celebrate this very special day. First, I'd like to give thanks to my family for helping me on this journey and pushing me to bring my best work to the table and nothing else. I remember all the times where I didn't want to study. There was a math quizzes standing between me and playing my favorite video game, and I wanted to do anything else and take the quizzes. My great-grandmother wouldn't let me leave the table till I got 100% on it, but assured me that it'll pay off. This stuck with me. The idea of working hard for something, even if it's not what you'll want to be doing at the time, and I will carry that with me to high school. I would like to thank you for not giving up on me when at times I cannot figure out how to do things. You held me throughout my time at CJA, especially my great-grandmother who puts our education first. I could have never done it without her, and I am truly grateful to her. I would also like to thank the greater CJA parent community for bringing such great friends to the school and making sure we make a time to enjoy ourselves. I'm so grateful that you take the time out of your day to volunteer at CJA events like Field Day, whether we're setting up the different stations or making sure nobody was doing anything unfair. But you all made sure we were all having fun. Because of each parent here at CJA, my overall experience was really fun, and I really liked being a part of this loving community. Thank you to everybody who made this journey for what it was. For our families and classmates, we say, thanks to be God.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas, Mr. Lipsy, Mr. Tiburcio, and Mr. Green for our opening prayer and for those readings. Job well done. Gentlemen, as you know, it's at this point in our Friday chapel services that Mr. Beckley, a teacher, a staff member, or one of your classmates offers a reflection. Today, our reflection, your final chapel reflection as CJA students, will instead be given by Dr. Lauren Smith. Dr. Smith grew up in Indianapolis, Indiana. Like you, she went to Jesuit schools, attending Brebeuf in Indianapolis for high school, and then Loyola University of New Orleans for college. She received her medical degree from the University of Maryland School of Medicine, and then came to Chicago to train at the Cook County Emergency Medicine Residency Program. Dr. Smith also holds an MBA from Indiana University's Kelley School. After working in community emergency medicine for a few years, Dr. Smith joined the emergency medicine faculty at Stroger Hospital, where she served as chair of Division of Quality and Observation for the Department of Emergency Medicine and interim medical director of Adult Emergency Services. She also was a member on the resident and faculty recruitment committees, working to ensure that diverse and qualified groups of residents and faculty were recruited and retained by the hospital. During her time at Stroger, Dr. Smith led and advanced teams focusing on improving safety, quality, and service for the patients of Cook County, and served as an elected officer of the executive medical staff. In October of 2020, Dr. Smith joined the administration and faculty of University of Illinois, Chicago, where she's currently Associate Chief Medical Officer and Patient Logistics and Director of Emergency Department Operations. Dr. Smith lectures locally and nationally and has published in a variety of emergency medicine textbooks and journals. In her career, she's participated in the training and the education of over 250 emergency medicine residents, as well as hundreds of other medical residents and students. Outside of the hospital, she's an avid sports fan, world traveler, and continues to mentor students and young doctors. She has served on Chicago Jesuit Academy's board of directors since 2013 and has served as chairperson of the board since June of 2020. Gentlemen, since your enrollment at CJA, everyone gathered here today has challenged you to grow as young men who are open to growth, loving, religious, intellectually competent, and committed to doing justice in the service of others. Dr. Smith is the personification of those ideals. Throughout the pandemic, Dr. Smith has worked tirelessly to save lives. Despite working long and grueling days at the hospital, she still somehow found the time to lead CJA as the chairperson of our board, with incredible grace, hope, and wisdom. She does this because she believes fiercely in the goodness and the great promise of each of you, the gentlemen of the class of 2021. I am honored to introduce her to everyone assembled here today. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our 2021 commencement speaker, Dr. Lauren Smith.
Woo, what a year, right? So good morning to the faculty and staff of Chicago Jesuit Academy, to the family and friends of the graduates of the class of 2021, but most importantly to the young men here to my left, the Chicago Jesuit Academy graduating class of 2021. So first, I would like to thank Mr. Matthew Lynch for the invitation to be here this year. I am truly honored. This was supposed to have happened a year ago, but then a little thing happened called COVID. But here we are today. We have persevered, we continue to persist, and we remain resilient. The good news about having an ER physician give the commencement, and I'm sure many of you have been to the doctor's office or the ER, kind of walk out and you're like, well, the doctor was barely with me. So today you will be happy that the doctor will be brief. And I would like to start off by following suit with thanks as our grads have. To the teachers, faculty, and staff of CJA, we know you've put in endless hours and may not always get the thanks you deserve, preparing for your classes, time in the classroom, late night calls and texts from some of our more eager students. And we know that while they are very handsome and polite and well-behaved today, they may not be so in the classroom always. Your impact on the world from your work here at CJA will be far greater than you imagine. So take pride in that. Continue to do the great work you are doing. Much like my work, COVID flipped your world upside down. You had to adapt and change at a rapid pace. So cheers to you on this day as well. Job well done. To the parents, the grandparents, the siblings, the aunts, the uncles, the cousins, the play cousins, the play aunts, the play uncles, and the friends of the graduates. Thank you for believing in this place called CJA, for taking a chance on the small school on the west side of Chicago on Jackson, started by a young man with his notepad, a backpack, and a vision almost 20 years ago. Someone who was able to identify that all was not right in the world when a young Black or Latino male from Chicago had a significantly lower chance of graduating high school and gaining meaningful employment than his white male counterpart. To that young man who decided to right that wrong. And to you too, you knew your sons were so much better and stronger than was portrayed in TV and on the news. You are aware of the potential within each of these young men here today. So thank you for entrusting your young men to us for the last 4 to 6 years. Now to the graduates of the class of 2021. I'm sure you never would have predicted that your last year would have been via Zoom and Skype. You had never heard of Canvas, and I can't imagine how challenging this year has been for you, intellectually, mentally, and physically. And I know many of you mentioned that your favorite time at CJA was either field day or participation in a sport or one of your summer camp experiences, and unfortunately that was taken away from you. But you persisted, and we are here today to celebrate you. And your perseverance inspires me. You had to navigate a new way of learning and living, and you made it. So what I want to share with you today are Dr. Smith's 5 rules for living life. I was going to call them 5 ways to have a successful life, but success will be different for each one of you. Your success will look very different than your classmate to your right or to your left. And so pay attention. There might be a little test at the end, but here are the rules. Number 1, do the work. Number 2, never stop being a student. Number 3, be kind and be grateful. Number 4, know your limits. And number 5, enjoy the ride. Now we'll expound briefly on each of these. Number 1, do the work. Don't cut corners, don't take shortcuts, you gotta grind it out. Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Steph Curry, they all had 60-point games. And you know, at those games, everyone was in awe, the fans, the commentators, and the only ones who probably weren't surprised were those 3 and maybe their coaches. And why? Because they had put in the work. When you get to practice early and stay late, you're taking 100 extra shots a day. It's not surprising that you're gonna have a game where you score 60 points. For every hit song that you hear from Jay-Z or Drake or Chance, just know that there are tons of verses and lyrics and scripts that are in the trash that you've never seen. They've put in the work. And so there's a term I also want you to remember, delayed gratification. It means do the work now and you will be rewarded later. In today's world, I know it's a hard concept to grasp with social media, internet, everything is right there. You order something on Amazon, it's on your doorstep the next day. But just remember, there are some things worth waiting for, and you have to do the work. Number 2, never stop being a student. Not necessarily literally. You don't have to be like me and go to school for 35 years of your life. But you do want to continuously learn to make yourself better in your environment. You want to make the field advance, whatever field of study or industry you enter. One of the best examples of this is President Obama. He was top of his class. He made Harvard Law Review. And while he was doing all of that, he continued to read and study, and he studied presidents. So maybe it's not so surprising that he became the President of the United States. And every year he publishes still a list of the books, his top reads. So don't be afraid of knowledge, eat it up, but also learn from your own experiences and learn from those around you. If you find yourself surrounded by people that you can't learn from, that don't challenge you intellectually, it may be time to find a new bunch of friends. You never want to be the smartest one in your crew or in your room because you want to be challenged to grow. So never stop being a student. Number 3, be kind and be grateful. This one's pretty simple. It kind of gets at the grad values. Be kind. You never know the person you're mean to today or put down could be your boss tomorrow. And there's a quote by Dr. Maya Angelou that has always stuck with me. People may forget what you say, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Honestly, I don't have many regrets in my life. but a few are surrounded by encounters or interactions or situations when I've made another one feel badly. And one thing I do know, I have never regretted being kind to someone. But you also have to remember to be kind to yourself. I know I'm one of my own worst critics. When I would do poorly on a test, I would beat myself up about it for days and weeks. But I have learned we have to give ourselves some grace. So push yourself, challenge yourself, love yourself, and be kind to yourself. No one else has lived your life or been through what you have been through. And no one is perfect. So be kind, take care of your body, the physical and the mental. Eat well, exercise, go see your doctor regularly. And if you need to reach out to someone, a counselor, a therapist, a trusted confidant, make sure you do that as well. And always be grateful for where you are in your life, for the people around you, even during the rough and challenging times. Be grateful, as they will make you stronger. It's not a challenge if it doesn't change you. Number 4, know your limits, but don't let anyone set them for you. So did you catch that? Know your limits, but don't let anyone set them for you. So I still want you to dream big about careers and houses and cars and families, but know when to ask for help, know when you need to rest, know when you might need to change course. Paths are not always straight, and they're not all to be taken at full speed. So know your limits, but don't let anyone set them for you. And last and most important, enjoy the ride. You can ask anyone who knows me that I work hard, but I play hard too. I remember the concept earlier, delayed gratification. It applies here. When you have worked hard for something, you enjoy the wins and successes that much more. Why? Because you know you have deserved it. So while I work hard in the ER, running, taking care of patients on shifts, and running meetings, I find my joy in travel. And I have been fortunate and blessed enough to have traveled to every continent with the exception of one. I have skied some of the highest mountains and swam in some of the bluest bodies of water and experienced so many different cultures and cuisines. And I truly enjoy every time because of the work I've put in prior to those trips. So whatever gives you joy might be something different. It may be writing poems or music or collecting items, volunteering, playing sports, whatever it may be. Ensure that you have put in the work and thus you are able to enjoy your wins and successes that much more. And remember to smile big and laugh harder. And sometimes you laugh at yourself will help, but remember, enjoy the ride. So in closing, remember the 5 rules. Do you remember? I'll give you a slide. Number 1, do the work. Number 2, never stop being a student. Number 3, be kind and be grateful. Number 4, know your limits, but don't let anyone set them for you. And number 5, enjoy the ride. You have now concluded your 2020-21 school year and successfully completed 8th grade. I want you to take that 2020 vision and apply it going forward. Everything you learned about yourself and others in the world, continue and move onward and upward. The opportunities are limitless. The road may not be easy, but the possibilities are there. And if I might borrow from Amanda Gorman, the National Youth Poet Laureate, for there is always light if we are brave enough to see it, if we are only brave enough to be it. Thank you and congratulations, class of 2021.
Gentlemen, we got to keep you hydrated. Please drink some water. Gentlemen, please join me in offering Dr. Smith another round of applause for her commencement speech. For the remainder of our morning together, gentlemen, the spotlight now shines squarely upon each of you. As you know, we do not recognize a valedictorian at our commencement ceremonies, nor do we recognize the best computer programmer or the best athlete. Instead, we give 5 special awards in recognition of your progress toward our grad at grad ideals. In special years, we also award our Phoenix Award, for which we have 2 awardees this year. In a moment, Ms. Buthe will present our first Grad at Grad Award to the students who have best exemplified being open to growth. She'll be followed by Ms. Odom, who will give out the award for being loving, Mr. Houlihan, who will give out the awards for being religious, Mr. Closter, who will recognize 2 students' commitment to doing justice in the service of others, Mr. Deal, who will recognize our honorees for intellectual competence, and Mr. Mason, who will recognize our honorees for the Phoenix Award. Mrs. Buthe.
Class of 2021, we know when you envisioned your 8th grade year, this is not what you pictured. However, each of you has shown optimism, flexibility, and creativity to ensure this year was the capstone your CJA experience deserves. You adapted your expectations and united to make this year exceptional. You have been the epitome of open to growth. Not only that, but you modeled for adults at CJA how to be open as we learn new ways of offering instruction. You found ways to be leaders in the school, helping lead lower school students in chapel and stepping up on field days. These are just a few examples of how your class has been uniquely open to growth. And I am thrilled to describe how our 2 award recipients exemplify this grad at grad value. Our first Open to Growth Award recipient takes learning seriously and knows every opportunity to learn something new is to his benefit. He raises his hand constantly, whether working one-on-one with a teacher or in a class full of his peers. He shares ideas, making connections with the text and characters. This student is brave enough to comment on his peers' thoughts and insights. He knows learning is no easy task and requires work. He takes ownership of his learning and is a leader among his peers, holding himself, along with his classmates, to high expectations. As a result, he has made tremendous growth as a reader and mathematician. Thank you for being so fearless and vocal. Matthew Harland, we are so proud of you. Our second Open to Growth Award recipient has shown courage and openness during his time at CJA. He approaches each learning experience as a brand new opportunity to deepen his thinking and develop his skills. This student doesn't need encouragement to share ideas or ask questions in class because he understands that's how he grows. Every time he participates, he engages his classmates in more sharing, which only deepens the entire class's understanding of the concept. This student constantly reflects on his progress, recognizing that perseverance and struggle are necessary components of growing and learning. He encourages feedback because he knows it only makes him stronger. Daniel Orta, your commitment to being open to growth shines through in everything that you do. It is my pleasure to present to Matthew Harland and Daniel Orta the 2021 Open to Growth Award.
In her book, All About Love, Bell Hooks tells us that love is the will to extend yourself for the purpose of nurturing your own and others' spiritual growth. Class of 2021, nothing has humbled me more than watching the way that you have awakened to love. You have all grown to accept and love yourselves and each other as people worthy of love. It is my privilege to present the Graduate at Graduation Award for Loving to two students who have practiced love in action. It would be easy to say, Mr. Elijah Thomas and Mr. Thomas Gutierrez's loving dispositions come naturally, but that would not leave any room to acknowledge how they have bravely chosen to be a prophet and an apostle of love. Elijah, you have put the nurturing of others at the center of your life because you understand the sacredness of friendship and true devotion to your family. Elijah carries a profound knowledge of just how much we need each other to thrive. He doesn't just desire to know the people in his life. His deep care reflects how he seeks to uplift others and honor who they are. You show such kindness and grace to your classmates and teachers. You pray for us the way that you've been prayed over, and pour love into this community the way that love has been poured into you. It has been inspiring to watch you learn how to extend that same kindness and grace to yourself. Thomas, you show deep gratitude for the abundance that exists in your life, and you make all of our lives more abundant. The patience, appreciation, and reverence you extend to others is out of your indiscriminate belief that we are all worthy and deserving. Mr. Gutierrez never misses a moment to recognize the goodness in others. No matter how subtle his words or actions, he communicates to people like his classmates and his sisters that they are holy and that they are worthy. You extend yourself so that others can learn and grow somewhere safe and accepting, and in turn, you have cultivated remarkable confidence and talent within yourself. Mr. Thomas and Mr. Gutierrez graduate today, imparting on this community and imprinting in the hearts and minds of so many a legacy of empathy, solidarity, and love. Your kindness and compassion remind the people whose lives you have touched that we too are worthy. It is an honor to present the Graduate at Graduation Award for Loving to Mr. Elijah Thomas and Mr. Thomas Gutierrez.
Sorry, there was a lot of wind. There we go. Faith is hard. And faith this year has been something else. The class of 2021 has been asked to pray on a computer, to attend a chapel service staring at a screen, to participate in prayer intentions before class by typing their deepest wishes for God's attention to a tiny little text box. The faith it takes to believe that God hears that's extraordinary. We've spent some time this year forming our conscience in reflection at the state of our world, in its failings of justice, its challenges of health and loss, and separation. I know I've had a hard time with it. But then I come to class in the morning, and these students, these alumni, they ask and they answer tough questions. They've continued their growth to being people for others in the way our Creator made them to be. I'm impressed by them. We have a class who aspires to this every day, but we have two people who we will honor now. The first embodies that inward kind of faith. It's the kind that a person has to have to accept themselves as a person formed in the image and the likeness of God. And with that acceptance, things the world tells you really matter, they fall away as those hollow things that they are. Our first recipient, Ryan Dunn, has more discipline than I have seen in a young person, possibly any person, in as long as I can remember. Whether or not someone is watching is entirely irrelevant. Ryan holds himself to a standard. He has the confidence that he is meeting the challenge that he set for himself to accept who he is, a person made in the likeness of God. And Ryan, the world can see it. Our second recipient, yes, there was a tie, it was a really special class. Octavius O'Quinn, he lives a different kind of faith. His is a faith of action, that faith of noticing the world around him, seeing who needs help, and saying, God has entrusted me with gifts, and I know how to use them. I can bring God's light to others so that they know they matter. To Ryan and Octavius, I couldn't be more proud of the way that you let God's love live in you unless I were out there in those seats with your family, who's probably about to make a lot of noise. So congratulations to the 2021 Grad Award recipients for Religious, Ryan Dunn and Octavius O'Quinn. You ready to smile? They can tell if you're not smiling. Not really. No? Okay. I gained some weight. Nice. We did it.
More water, gentlemen, more water. Water.
I'm thrilled to present the 2021 award for Committed to Doing Justice to Mr. Christopher Burton. We ask that all of our students, in every grade, recognize injustice and that they seek help to fix it. This class began that work as the very first fourth grade group at Chicago Jesuit Academy. And Mr. Rollins, Mrs. Weber still talks about how you raised your voice in that group to call for fairness. Every year that they were with us, their understanding of justice, their commitment to it grew, and they helped us see that the commitment to doing justice is our way of recognizing love and making love manifest in physical action, and this class as a whole did this in so many ways. From jumping into breakout rooms at chapel, leading field day with underclassmen some of whom they'd never met in person. Mr. Lynch often says that our 8th graders make the weather at CJA, and that is especially true of Mr. Burton. His classmates saw him as a leader, not just because of his excellence on the basketball court, not just because he worked as hard as any student in the building, but because of the way that he includes everyone, and he lives his life with an infectious love for the world. Mr. Burton showed his commitment to doing justice in the service of others by deepening his understanding of injustice and its root causes. He held up the ugliness of injustice to the cleansing light of compassion and love. For example, this is perfect Chris Burton story at this all-boys middle school. Christopher Burton asked for the floor during the morning meeting and raised his hand and said he had been researching the unequal treatment of female athletes in the NCAA basketball tournament, and he was so bothered by their lack of access to resources that he couldn't stay silent. And to all of the other male members of his class, he said, "This isn't enough. It took courage, it took love, and it took an uncommon commitment to doing justice in the service of others." It sets a powerful example when the leader of this class asks all of his peers to stop and consider injustices faced by communities that they don't belong to. Martin Luther King famously said at my alma mater, Grinnell College, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." And Mr. Burton, since he started CJA as a sixth grader, has quietly shown how you actually do the bending. I am honored to present the award for committed to doing justice in the service of others to Mr. Christopher Burton.
If you could raise your hand real fast, if there was anything that you had to get done this week. Was there like a thing you had to get done this week? Anybody out there? Okay. All right. Raise your hand again if there was something that got in your way, that was kind of a barrier to try to stop you from doing that job. All right. So that's what intellectual competence, what I'm going to present the award for today, that we celebrate at CJA. It's not necessarily being the smartest in the room or the person that gets the best grades. It's not the person that doesn't have any barriers. Intellectual competence is the ability to anticipate those barriers, those things that are going to try to stop you from getting done what you know you have to get done. It's thinking critically and communicating with others when you need help to get those jobs done, because we know we can't do those on our own. Intellectual competence is not, there's a barrier. There's a barrier, but I will. I will find a way. That's the mentality of intellectual competence. And I want to celebrate the entire class for showing this entire year. A couple of examples. There's a student thinking, I'm working at home. I wasn't really able to do quality work during class because I was taking care of a family situation, but I will. Another student thinking, I have to contact my teacher about work being turned in late. It takes a lot longer to write a nice professional email, but I will. Another student thinking, I really want to get stronger during this pandemic. I want to come out stronger. I have a goal of trying to work up to a 2-minute plank. That's pretty hard if anybody had done that. That might be difficult, but I will. It might be hard to spend a lot of extra hours tweaking my robot on my robotics team that I joined until it completes every task that I want it to, but I will. Another student thinking, it might be challenging to join the flag football team at my new school my first year and work really hard to help my team win a championship, but I will. All this practice that these guys have done in intellectual competence could have come from any member of this graduating class in any number of ways. But these specific examples that I just gave came from Mr. Darion Lipsy and Mr. David Tiburcio's CJA career. They are specific examples of whether being in the building or being remote, they practice planning for the future by joining teams that might improve themselves. They practice communicating effectively with people that could help them through tough times, whether they be teachers or peers, to ask for help. They thought critically by participating in classes with questions and ideas that spurred their learning and their peers' learning. Congratulations, Mr. Darion Lipsy and Mr. David Tiburcio, as the winners of the Class of 2021 Award for Intellectual Competence.
Our Phoenix Award is a relatively new award to our school community. It's a unique award in that it doesn't necessarily fall into a single grad category, but instead embodies the spirit of our students and our CJA community. The phoenix is a mythical bird that regenerates itself from the ashes, only to emerge brilliantly to set the world aflame. It represents a timeless cycle of trying, failing, learning, and trying again. CJA's Phoenix Award is all about a student's ability to rebound from setback after setback, to regenerate themselves once again and shine brilliantly for all to see, to go forth and set the world aflame. In this year of all years, every graduate in this class should proudly call themselves a Phoenix. Our first of two award winners would admit that he wasn't often a fan of CJA. Like a disgruntled football player, he may or may not requested a trade multiple times. But deep down inside, the spirit that drove him to success and rebirth was a desire to be his best self, to make his unwavering and supportive family proud, and to be a part of the solution to the world's problems, which he so aptly noticed on a daily basis. Much like the sport that he lives and breathes each day, this student refused to stay down after being tackled by obstacles that life threw his way. It is our honor and pleasure to continue to watch this Phoenix shine bright, and we are pleased to award our first Phoenix Award to Mr. Aaron Green. Our second award winner is an expert in using failure and frustration to his advantage. It is not often that you will find a student who can successfully name the emotions that get in the way of his learning, stare those emotions straight in the face, and persist anyway. That takes courage, and that courage opened worlds of knowledge for this student, worlds in which he could question his own beliefs and be willing to listen to others as well. His passion for justice and for never giving up will be a light that illuminates any and all future communities that he calls home. It's our honor and pleasure to award our second Phoenix Award to Mr. Dion Glenn. Gentlemen, continue to embody the spirit of the Phoenix and continue to remember that you can always rise from the ashes and shine brightly whenever your future may take you.
I'm a very big fan of that cloud. Two things, please, gentlemen. A little bit of water. And then it's almost time, so I would ask you to put your blazers back on. Gentlemen, feel free to give a little help to your neighbor. Make sure his collar's squared away. Looking good, gentlemen. Gentlemen, in a moment, Ms. Odom and Mr. Carroll will recognize you, the graduates of the class of 2021. However, before they do, I'd like to publicly recognize them and the other members of our faculty and staff who are taking their leave from CJA this year for their dedicated service to each of you and to our alumni. Together, these amazing educators have nursed our students through countless tough bumps and bruises. They've patiently helped our students become better readers, better writers, more critical thinkers. They've inspired our students to use their talents in the pursuit of their passions, and they've helped our students and alumni navigate their next best steps throughout high school, college, and the start of their careers. May I please ask those teachers and staff members who are departing to please stand, and may I please invite everyone gathered here today to recognize their dedicated service to CJA by joining me in offering them a round of applause. When Ms. Odom and Mr. Carroll call each graduate's future high school, as well as their name, we would ask for your polite, your enthusiastic, and your very, very, very loud applause for each student. Here we go, gentlemen.
Gentlemen, please rise. Ricardo Alvarado Morales, Loyola Academy. Christopher Burton, St. Rita High School. Kamari Jarrell Cross, Chicago Bulls College Prep. Shamar Terrion Durden, UIC College Prep. Ryan Dunn Jr., Christ the King Jesuit College Prep. Cameron Edwards, Air Force Academy. Fred R. Fairfax, Christ the King Jesuit College Prep. Dion Glenn, Holy Trinity High School. Aaron Demetrius Green, Chicago Hope Academy.
Mr. Torrance E. Green, Jr., Christ the King Jesuit College Prep. Mr. Thomas Anthony Gutierrez, Culver Academy. Mr. Matthew Harlan, Christ the King Jesuit College Prep. Mr. Shaquan Harris, still deciding. Mr. Gerardo Hernandez, Holy Trinity High School. Mr. Derek Jones, UIC College Prep. Mr. Darian Lipsey, Prosser Career Academy. Mr. Jakai Omar Nance, Ogden International School.
Miko L. Naejo, Whitney Young Magnet High School. Octavius Javar O'Quinn Jr., UIC College Prep. Daniel Trinidad Orta, Cristo Rey Jesuit High School. Davion Trezell Pete, Golder College Prep. Miguel Puntos, Cristo Rey Jesuit High School. Tyron Malik Rollins, Proviso Math and Science Academy. Jonathan Scott, Christ the King Jesuit Prep. Tristan Robert Sturdivant, Christ the King Jesuit College Prep.
Christian E. Taylor Jr., Curie Metropolitan High School. Mr. Elijah Jamar Renell Thomas, Chicago Bulls College Prep. David Tiburcio, Joliet Catholic Academy. Mr. Ernest R. Tucker, Jr., Chicago Bulls College Prep. Mr. Jaden Isaiah Villalobos, Intrinsic Charter School. And Mr. Adrian Woods, Mushin College Prep. Congratulations, gentlemen. Yeah. Mr. Beckley will now lead us in our closing prayers. Mr. Beckley?
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Before I do and have this closing prayer, I'd like to offer a personal intention. I've steamed with a lot of captains. I work for a lot of bosses, but none of them has ever had the vision, the wisdom, the patience with me, and the love that has been shown by the outgoing head of school, Ms. Jenna Boyle. I pray in gratitude for the work that I've had with her during this time as head of school, and I'd also like to pray in gratitude for the fact that she's going to be one of the most remarkable science teachers on our faculty next year that we've ever had. So I just want to say, Jenna, thank you for everything. Love you. Let us pray. Creator of all things, true source of light and wisdom, origin of all being, we thank you for graciously giving your light to penetrate the minds and souls of these young men. We thank you for accompanying them through the last 15 months. We thank you for their families who have made and done so much, made so many sacrifices to ensure a successful completion of this remarkable school year. We ask you to bless these graduates. Keep them always in your light. Give them a keen understanding, a retentive memory, and the ability to grasp things correctly and fundamentally. Grant them the gift of being exact in their explanations and the ability to express themselves always with thoroughness and charm. Point out the beginning, direct their progress, and help them always towards their ultimate goal, to live with God forever. And we ask these things in your most holy name, Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Beckley. After our graduates process out, I'd like to ask all of our guests to slowly exit the bleachers and follow the pathway to the right into the courtyard. Our graduates will be eager to see you there. Before we make that transition, though, we have one final piece of business. Gentlemen, would you please stand? And ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in a round of applause as I present to you the 13th graduating class of Chicago Jesuit Academy, the gentlemen of our class of 2021. Congratulations, gentlemen.